Good morning and welcome to Words That Matter, a modern day book club. And I'm your host, Lee Smith. I'm stumbling over words because I'm so excited about today's show. I'm so excited about the guest. I'm sure you've all seen him in all sorts of movies. He's perhaps most famously known for his role on Justified, a fantastic TV show. He's written a new book. And the book is called Justify This, A Career Without Compromise. Welcome, Mr. Nick Searcy. Thank you so much for being here with us today on Words That Matter.
Lee, thanks for having me. It's great to talk to somebody who's actually read the book.
Oh yeah, I love the book. I mean, even if you weren't coming on, I'm going to have to buy the book so I feel honest and I can give it to friends because I got to read it for free. So, but I would pay hundreds to read this book, to read your account. And I got to say, I mean, not only do I really love the book, I'm reading it and I'm smiling the whole time just because it seems like you've had such a wonderful career and such a wonderful life.
I've been very fortunate, I must say. I mean, when I moved to New York after college and started trying to be an actor, it was not always so easy those early years, but it really turned out well. And I think that, like I say in the book, I think I was pretty much led through all that. I was protected, and God was looking out for me, and everything turned out to be pretty good.
Well, I mean, well, first of all, you're talking about living in New York. I was raised in New York, so I know a lot of those areas, and I know a lot of people, actors. None of them who had a spectacular career as you had, but I know what that life is like. And so for you to have gone through all that, and again, all your amazing achievements. But you're talking about how you feel that God led you through it. God was watching. So there's that one incredible scene where you're looking to cast someone for the movie Gosnell, which you directed. I want to talk about all your acting
Right,
as
right.
soon as possible, but I want to talk about this because it was so moving.
Yes, yes.
You walk in and there's a young woman and she's the manager of a restaurant and you're just impressed with her and you haven't been able to cast this particular role yet. And you talk to her and then you find out something kind of miraculous. So if you could explain that.
Yeah, we were doing the movie Gosnell, which is about, of course, Kermit Gosnell, the abortion doctor who was convicted of murder for killing live babies in Philadelphia. And there was this one role of a woman who went into Gosnell's clinic and changed her mind after talking to him, and he said he could not reverse the procedure, and she went somewhere else and she had her baby, and I just couldn't find the right person. Anyway, I'm in this Waffle House on a Sunday morning. It's really busy. The supervisor there, young lady, she's kind of talking to all the customers, and I kept sort of getting a feeling about her. I kept sort of saying that she looks exactly right for the part. I wonder if she can act. So I did the whole, I know this sounds like a line, but I'm really am a Hollywood producer. I really am making a movie. And have you ever acted before? Anyway, long story short, she said, "No, I've never acted before, but I talked to her about it. There was only a couple of lines. She came in and did the part. And then only after she had come in and done the part, and she did really well, did I find out that exact situation had happened to her in real life. She had gone in to have an abortion, changed her mind, and went ahead and had the baby. And it was just one of those moments where it was like, okay, that's got to be God leading me to the right person. It can't be anything else.
No, it's really a moving scene. Look, there's another scene too that I want to ask you about in your book, which isn't really about acting. It's not about acting at all. It's when you and your wife decide that you want another child and you adopt a boy. You adopt a boy named Omar, and you walk in. A lot of people know you as an actor. You're a you play some of the roles as you describe. You play not nice guys, but also as deputy, deputy marshal in Justified. So you're a tough guy.
Yeah.
You walk into a prison and you see this young, the child you're adopting, his biological father, and this young man's in prison. And you keep pointing out how this is a very young man. and the conversation you have with him that you describe in the book. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because again, this is just a really stirring and amazing scene.
Well, thank you, Lee. I mean, yeah, the adoption of our son Omar was quite a learning experience for us, and one of the best things that we've ever done. I mean, Omar's doing great. He's 24 years old. He's in film school. He's doing great. But yes, when we adopted him, he came out of the foster care system. But as you know, the foster care system takes a very long time to terminate parental rights. Sometimes it never happens. And so he had been with us for almost 3.5 years. And I was beginning to think that it was never going to be terminated. So I went to the parents, both the mother after a hearing and the father. Well, the mother first, and I said, you know, if you let us adopt your son, we will stay in touch with you. If the state ever terminates your rights, they won't even let you know where he is. But I promise to stay in touch with you. She agreed, and then I had to go talk to his biological father, who at the time was in jail, and talked to him through the glass and just explained to him. I knew he had some fears and some objections, and I knew he felt helpless because he was, had his son taken away from him by the state. And so when I talked to him, I said, his name was Omar too. I said, Omar, I'm. I know you're concerned about your son being raised by white people. I can't do anything about that, but I'll tell you this: I love your son. I will make sure he knows his history, and I will do the best I can. I'll make sure he does his homework. I will take care of him for you. And I said, I know that I give you my word as a man. And Omar Senior said, tell the social worker to come talk to me tomorrow. And he decided to sign over his rights. And we have stayed in touch with both his birth mother and his father, his siblings, everybody. Omar knows exactly where he's from. He knows his whole birth family. He knows his story because we didn't want him to have any, questions about anything. And it's worked out well for all of us. Omar Senior is still a pen pal of mine. He's still in prison, but I think he gets out in a couple of years. And
And now your son, as you talk about in the book, I mean, he worked on, you worked on two movies about January 6th.
yeah,
And I want to get to those in some detail in a bit, but
sure.
but your son worked on those movies with you. So he's also joined the film industry.
Yeah, yeah. He's done some acting. He's done a little bit of everything, and I think I kid him. I say, you want to be in the film business because you've watched me as an actor work about 40 or 50 days a year for for 20, 30 years and go, hey, that was a pretty good year. I worked like 40 days.
Well, you say you say when you're talking about Justified that doing a TV series is about the best job you can get. Well, first of all, it's not only a lot of fun, and that's why you got into acting to begin with, but because of the hours. So, can you talk about the? I mean, again, this is, of course, I'm sure everyone wants to talk to you about Justified all the time.
Yeah.
So, I definitely do.
Well, the hours for everybody on a TV show are not great. I mean, and there are those days where you have to get up at 5 in the morning, but and if I was Tim Oliphant, I would be getting up every day at 5 in the morning. But for a character actor like me, I would work 1 or 2 days a week. They'd come in, I'd be in my office, I'd tell Raylan stop shooting people, and then I'd go home and I'd go play golf. So it was a great job for me. And for a character actor, that's a that's a pretty cushy gig. You don't make as much money as the lead guy, but you don't have to be there as much either.
And it seems that you got along really well with everyone on the set, including Graham Yost, who's the showrunner, and he
Yeah.
wrote one of the. You have yet. I should say that Nick Searcy has two introductions for his book here, one from the right and one from the left, and they're both
Yeah.
pretty funny, especially the one from the left from Graham Yost. So you got along well with everyone on the set.
Yes, I've gotten along well with pretty much everybody. I kid them. I say I've been tolerating you stupid Democrats my whole career. So it's no big deal. I'm used to putting up with you guys. So it's they have trouble putting up with us sometimes. But I've never really had a big confrontation on a set or anything. I don't try to evangelize my politics when I'm working.
Well, one of the amazing things about reading the book is, you're talking about Edward Albee, you're talking about working with these great actors, you're talking about all this impressive stuff, and I think this book, I really hope it gets to people on the left as well. Actually, I don't know the likelihood of that, but one of the important things, like, look, this is an accomplished actor. This is a real person, right? He's a serious man, a serious actor. You may think he's just pushing conservative politics that you feel uncomfortable with, but he's talking about the important work he's done as an artist, as a creative person.
Well, the book is not primarily a political book. I mean, there's certainly a couple of chapters in there about the making of the January 6th documentaries and the making of Gosnell. I mean, but those are more approached from an artistic standpoint, how we made it, how hard it was to make, that kind of thing. So the book itself is not political. I mean, I make a few little jokes in there, like how I've played a lot of really, really terrible people, serial killers and sexual harassers and wife beaters. And let's face it, I've played a lot of Democrats, but that's just a joke. I mean, yeah, I hope that people don't reject it because they think it's going to be too political, because it's really not that political.
Well, you mentioned that there were times like after January 6th, and I want to talk about the January 6th movies shortly. But you said that there was a moment when, or there have been times when you felt that people are holding your politics against you. I'll just say first, the most surprising thing about the book is that most people are not. At least in the earliest chapters, people are like, yeah, there's Nick Searcy. I know him from here. We worked together then, and you have an argument with Tommy Lee Jones, but it's about acting. It's not about politics. So, were you surprised after January 6th when there seems to have been a sea change?
Well, I had felt it earlier than that. I mean, the election of Trump in 2017 just sort of drove the left insane, and so anybody in Hollywood who was seen as like not claiming that they voted for Hillary Clinton, and much less being proud that you voted for President Trump. I mean, I was feeling it even then. I mean, I don't I don't have any like information about specific projects that I was denied because of my politics or anything like that. But I do, yeah. There was some slowing down for me after Trump was elected, and yet again, but I've got enough. I mean, that's the thing. I've never really had to have another job. I've always made a living, and a pretty good one, being an actor, and it didn't change during the Trump years. I wrote a few op-eds. I made Gosnell during those years. But I also made a Stephen King miniseries, and I did Guillermo del Toro's Shape of Water, and I mean, I've continued to work, and it was really January 6th, though. When January 6th happened, that's when things kind of got really like overtly, okay, something's going on here. And I tell a story in the book about that, about my agent calling me and giving me some information the Saturday after January 6th.
We're going to take a quick break right now, and I want to pick it up when we come back. I'd like you to tell that story about your agent and what happened, and also I'd like to talk about your January 6 movies, and then I also have to ask you who are the actors you liked working with most, and who are the ones who gave you the biggest problems. Again, I've got so much to ask you, and I know we're going to run out of time, but right now we got to take a quick break. If you're watching on YouTube, please make the jump exclusively to Epoch TV. We're making the jump. So please come back with us, having a fantastic conversation with one of my favorite actors, and now one of my favorite writers. You got to read his first book, great book, Nick Searcy, Justify This, A Career Without Compromise. See you in a sec.
A 16-year-old girl who has undergone an attempted gender transition. She's gone on testosterone for years and got a double mastectomy, and then realizes that this was a mistake, that she can't actually become another gender. To go back to her doctor and tell the doctor this was all a mistake is kind of akin to going back to an abuser that has hurt you very much and saying, hey, you abused me and I didn't like it, and I'm just letting you know that I'm done with you abusing me. The doctors who were involved in this organization were aware that some of the testosterone hormones they're giving to girls were causing tumors. They were also aware that the young patients couldn't fully informed consent to these procedures since they were struggling from severe mental health issues. And they were aware that some patients were losing their fertility when they were taking testosterone. And yet none of them talked about this. And to the world, what they're saying is gender affirming care is vital for the safety and well being of young people. And denying this care to them is dangerous and is going to hurt them. And that's the messaging that we hear from the Biden White House, from the Department of Health and Human Services. That's the messaging we hear from the Department of Education, from all major medical organizations which cite WPATH's expertise, even though WPATH is internally acknowledging that these types of things are experimental.
What happened to the medical profession? What happened to the media? What happened to the Biden White House? Please make sure and come back with us. Make the jump exclusively to Epoch TV.